In the 90s, Playmates Toys made the deepest line of Star Trek action figures in history. My name's Keith, and I'm a collector working towards owning all 284. I've been a Trek fan for almost 35 years, and most people are sick of me talking about it. But somehow I've convinced my old friend Mike to review them with me on Look at My Star Trek Toys! What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Look at My Star Trek Toys. Today we have a traditional old school episode where I show my actual toys. I'm very excited about it. We have a Next Generation Guest Stars Part 2. We did Part 1 like a million episodes ago. But here we are. I've got some really fun stuff to show you, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for asking. I have a bit of an admission, Keith, that it makes me a little weird to talk about.
I am nervous already.
It goes a little something like this. When we started this show, I definitely played a little bit of a mocky role because I was not a Star Trek guy. I never have been a Star Trek guy, and that's kind of part of the conceit. Here's the thing, though. Because we have started another show in which I am watching Deep Space Nine, which is part of the, actually ran, as you said, for a good portion, ran in tandem with Next Gen, right, towards the end.
That's right. I
sort of am a Star Trek guy now, and so I'm more eager and excited than usual to check out some of these toys, because I find myself, I know it's not the case here, although you never know with crossovers, sometimes when I'm doing my initial watches of Deep Space going, wow, that character looks familiar. Did I see a toy? Have we seen a toy? So anyway, maybe we'll see something that I will see in the future.
It's entirely possible. Yeah, I mean, it is interesting, and I'll say this like a little bit behind the scenes. Watching Mike's enthusiasm level increase as we're going along with the Deep Space Nine show, which you can check out right here on our feed. Keith and Mike watch Deep Space Nine. We are we're about halfway through season 1. If you're counting at home, but I can tell by the tone of the text that Mike sends, or like he's starting to get pretty excited about this, and which is really exciting for me for many reasons, because most of this show was a whole long con to try to get somebody to talk about Star Trek with me. But also because it's incredibly fun to watch this series through Mike's eyes. And we're in season 1, folks. So like, oh my God.
Yeah, and everybody says it's trash, right? Which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not trash. It's definitely not trash. And looking at it again now, I'm really enjoying how it's really a conversation for the other show, but I'm enjoying how important these episodes are laying groundwork. We're in the boring part where we're planting seeds and it's just dirt and we don't see any of them come to fruition, but it actually is going to pay off later that we are starting right with season 1. So anyway, before we start showing off the figures, I want to just remind folks out there who are already sick of hearing our spiel that you can watch Mike watch Deep Space Nine live on your camera, see what he's seeing and see what his face looks when he sees it on our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/K&M, spell out that and see that along with other bonus watch-alongs. We have we're recording an AMA after we do this. Lots of other fun stuff. You can see the behind the scenes of our Out of Practice show. So lots going on, Mike.
We would like to thank those who have already joined us, Keith, who are helping fund today's show. And that is Brian Kaufman, Casey Clark, Cloud Lover 69, whoever you are, wherever you are, Jorge Navoa, the mysterious Anne. It's like she's like Prince. It's just Anne, right? It's like Prince needs no other, like Madonna, like Prince, like Elvis. It's just Anne. Alan Zimmerman, CRM Productions, our buddy Chris, and Charles Babbage. You remember Babbage's, Keith? You ever go into a Babbage's to buy your video games back in the day?
Oh, I didn't until you said that. Until you put the video game context in there. I was like, we'd had the GameStop, we did that. But Babbage's, because at that era, I was still playing CD-ROM games.
Yeah.
I didn't switch to console until the Xbox 360. Actually, I was doing PC games all the way through there, which had some which had some benefits and drawbacks because it wasn't stable at all.
Right.
But you could get higher resolutions if you were running it off, depending on the type of PC you had. And story for another time. I once hacked Madden. So the PC version of Madden, it was like Madden 02 or 03 or whatever, and they had all the files that they installed, and they weren't encrypted. So I was able to get into the actual graphics files, and if you renamed the graphics file the same file, I could replace the grass, I could replace the uniforms, I could replace anything. So it was pretty fun if you're that kind of a nerd. I put in like replace the music files in the hockey game, so that when the like during the game you're playing and like at the face-off they're playing music from there. I put my own songs in there. It was just truly.
I actually used to do that for walk-up songs in baseball. When I would get the baseball games, I would replace the audio files for their walk-up entrance musics to like fun tunes I liked.
No, totally. Yeah, well, see, that's what you could do back in the day. You can't do that anyway at all today. Anybody, we've wasted so much of your time
we're talking
already.
about toys. We're tangential, at least.
It's toyish. It's toyish. I'm sure it's interesting to somebody. But if not, that's why we have chapters, folks. We have chapters below. So I think, why don't we start looking at some guest stars from Star Trek: The Next Generation? And we showed some of them before. We're going to show you 5 more. Are you ready, Mike?
Let's do it.
We are starting with figure number 6968, Sarek. And Mike, you know what? We're going to play a little game today. We're going to play a little game today where you tell me who Sarek is. Mike doesn't know the answers to any of these questions.
Sarek, Keith, as everyone knows, is a Vulcan leader. And obviously lots of drama because it leads to some daddy issues because he is the father of Spock.
Oh my God, Mike, you got it right. Oh, that's so exciting.
And he also is an ancient Greek. He's an ancient Greek.
Well, I mean, the Vulcans were kind of Greekish.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and I think the Romulans were sort of based, their structure was based on like well, they were the Romans. So I guess the Vulcans were the Greeks. Anyway, so this is Sarek, played by Mark Leonard, who played Sarek way back in the original series. So we met Sarek and Spock's dad way back when in the 60s, but he came back not only for 2 episodes of The Next Generation, he also played Sarek in Star Trek's 3, 4, and 6. So he did the movies, he did the original series, he did Star Trek: The Next Generation. He also, Mark Leonard, played a Klingon captain in the motion picture and played a Romulan commander in the original series, as well as doing voice for Sarek in 1 episode of the animated series. So Mark Leonard has a very important part in Star Trek history. And it's really interesting to see him pop up on The Next Generation. He does as many episodes as Spock does on The Next Generation, and has a very interesting connection, which I'm not going to give away, with Picard as things move forward. So very important. I also, not for nothing, I met Mark at a Star Trek convention in 1991 in Burlington, Vermont. So there it is. 1991, Keith was very excited. Although I don't think I knew him that well, other than from the movies, because I don't think either of his episodes on Next Gen had aired yet. So there you go. So let's talk about the figure itself. Mike, what do you think?
I do have some thoughts, actually. I think, what's interesting here to me is that clearly when you use the robes, you don't need to worry as much about some of the costume sculpting, right? Like the robe is pretty much covers up a huge portion of the body. But what I appreciate here quite a bit is that they didn't use that as a shortcut because they spent the extra time. It appears, first of all, the facial sculpt is really good.
Facial sculpt is great, yeah.
But they did some attention to details on the sort of spangling in his necklace area. But more importantly, his hands. We've got obviously the Vulcan live long and prosper, but additionally, we've got the ring on the left hand and a really cool articulation of the sleeves, the way they kind of drape and also the flow. There feels to be a movement in the fabric. So it's a really cool figure, actually. I really dig it. Where it could be kind of a toss away, I actually think it's a pretty good, really a great likeness.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the facial sculpt is really strong. And the fabric sculpt, it's all a single colored plastic, but the sculpting on it is beautiful. Really getting the motion and the sort of liquidity to the fabric there. And you'll actually notice he has a ring on his right hand as well. So there's a lot of really interesting detail. I like the shoulder sort of spangle details. I will say the ring does not go all the way around the finger, but it's more like it's Star Trek times. It's probably like magnetically stuck on there. You don't need to go all the way around the finger. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And actually, if you go to Toy Cam, I can show you, as we are prone to looking up the skirts of the figures here. Come on, Keith, where is the camera? Find the camera.
Yeah,
there it is. So it is sort of filled in on the bottom, which we see frequently with the robish kind of a deals. So the feet just sort of stick out and don't continue, so that it doesn't actually have real legs. They're just stuck in there on the bottom there. But you can see what number I have, folks. 19,858 for those playing at home. But you can also see here that the what I mean about the rings there, they don't come all the way through, but you can see on the back of his hand here. You'd think I would get better at this as time goes by. The ring on his right hand as well. But anyway, I think it's a great figure. And Sarek is a very interesting character. And it's nice to have him represented if you want to do like a little Spock family reunion there. I know their relationship was fraught, mainly because they had a mysterious sister we didn't know about for 30 years later. But there you are. So yeah, so there's figure number. Let's look at the box before we go.
Oh yeah, good call.
See, I remembered this time. You can see, I think this was the Next Gen Series 2 or Series 3, including with his Skybox card there, where you can, it's good when they do the card and we can check their work, and you can see that they nailed it with all of the jewelry and such, with some basic blue choking hazards, but yeah, good figure. Now, I'm excited about our next figure because I think I can sort of tell which figures Mike is going to be like all over, and this one is definitely one of those figures. And let us look at figure 6969, no pun intended, the Nausicaan.
Yeah. Ooh, baby. He's in Gwar and Kiss together.
He's like if Gwar and Kiss made a baby with the Predator.
Yes.
There you would have the Nausicaan.
Wow, that is, yeah, it's very Predator for sure.
Very Predator. But it is yeah, this is a cool figure. This is the Nausicaan, played by Clint Carmichael in the episode Tapestry.
It's a little unfortunate he's giving me the sort of alt-right hand signal, but
I think that's just the angle. I mean, although I suppose the Nausicaans might be alt-right. We don't know. We know that they're not all that friendly. So who knows? This is from Series 4 of the Next Gen. And yeah, so if you remember on a couple of our customs episodes and from regular episodes, we've seen several figures from the episode Tapestry, which is the one where Picard goes back into his past and gets stabbed. And we saw a couple amazing figures of him being stabbed and such. And the guy who stabbed him is this guy, the head Nausicaan from Tapestry. So yeah, tell me about the figure. Tell me what you're feeling here, Mike.
I mean, me, when we, like you said, when we start to look at some of the more humanoid, regular folk over and over again, as important as that is, as you mentioned, it's nice when we get just like an outrageous design. So they clearly went to town on the facial sculpt. Clearly, the costuming is almost. Stick with me here. With the costuming and the fringe on like his pants and stuff, it almost you could convince me this was a He-Man type figure, right? Like you could.
Oh, sure.
Totally convinced me of that. I think it's awesome. I'd have picked this up instantly. I love a monster. I love monster design. I like a cool pop of color. I'm a sucker for the red and black. Really nothing not to like here. And it's also a little scary, which is kind of cool when we're talking toys.
Yeah, it is a little scary. And, he's thicker in the figure than they're very tall on the episode, but not quite this thick. But I will say this for my little Nausicaan here. This is a heavy figure. There's a lot of plastic. He's clearly all the way solid. So this is probably the heaviest of the Star Trek figures out there. I mean, just because of the thickness of the dude. But we've got good articulation. He doesn't have the thigh articulation, but he does have the arm articulation. His head moves. It's a cool figure. I think the Nausicaans do show up a couple more times throughout the Star Trek world. But they easily could have been a big bad, I think. Although I think probably it would have been a little hard to make them a regular big bad because of acting under that facial stuff. You can't really see the mouth or the eyes, and you need to see the eyes in order to have it be a regular bad guy.
Riddle me this, Keith.
Yeah.
I tend to go off on a creative tangent at times, foot shift. Are there any, or would you consider, think about the Barbie line, right? And how the majority of the Barbie line, they did like a faux hair situation where the hair was manipulative. And would you ever consider for some of these, like a Worf or one of these guys, how cool it might be to have sort of tangible hair? As complicated as that would be to mass produce, it would be kind of cool.
If you went troll doll sort of a deal. Yeah, I mean, and Playmates did with their larger figures, the 9-inch scale, which I don't have any of. We may get to them at some point, but those actually had fabric for the uniforms.
Oh, cool.
And stuff. I think it would be cool. I think it would be a little harder to play with in the sense that it would get dirty, it would get messed up, it wouldn't last as long. And I think it would sort of break the precedent of all of the other figures. Yep. We're having a lot of discussions about the scale of the new ones. Like, are they exactly 5-inch scale or 4.5-inch scale, whatever. Once you added real hair, I don't know. Now, that said, there is precedent for stuff like that. With the Andorian has that fur.
Yes, right.
Thing
the boa
wearing.
Thing. Yeah.
The feather boa, which is fabric. So I don't know. Maybe we can get away with it.
Let me put this call out then. I'm looking at you creators, and Keith, we can do some research. I want to do an episode called Crazy Customs, where you sort of, whereas a lot of times the custom people are filling in gaps or are trying to make their figures align with the look and scale of the line we're looking at now. What are some customs you've done that are just kind of just go out into left field and really blow it out and do something kind of nutty? That would be fun.
Well, like JD's Super Mega Warrior Wharf.
Absolutely.
With shivs for days.
Mm-hmm.
That is like genuinely one of my favorite figures on my shelf. It's so cool.
You are welcome.
Yeah, I know. I love how I got it.
Right. He has your address. That's really where it boils down to. All right.
That is 100% true. All right. Well, let us keep going to, there's the box. Again, Series 4. I like this box design because it's a good mixture of the sort of art painted version of the Enterprise, but it's also a little bit more detailed than Series 1. I was never a fan of Series 1's box design. This feels like a good mixture there, for what that's worth. Let us move forward. Now, to our next figure. Mike Temba, his arms wide. It is time for 6060 Dathon. Here he is. Mike, you have not seen Darmok, yes?
You're just
The
saying
episode.
words. Yeah.
Great. So this is a very famous episode of The Next Generation. You know what? Mike, why don't you tell me who this guy is and what the story is here?
I don't know. I just feel bad for a little bad for you get the call from your agent. Hey, you're going to be on Trek. You're getting a cool monster design. It's a unique design. We haven't seen this creature before. And then you roll into the makeup and you're like, oh, I'm going to look so badass. Can't wait. And you come out of the trailer and you're like, oh, okay. This is how I look.
I mean, I think it looks cool.
Is it? It kind of looks like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. He's got a cool shiv, that's for sure.
He has a great shiv. He definitely does. So this is Dathon.
I'm going to tell you, it's an episode where they beam down, the away team beams down to a planet, and they do some sort of like a medieval type of episode that's like a medieval type of universe, and he's like a bridge troll. You gotta like answer his riddle or solve a puzzle in order to get by him.
You have to answer his riddle. Which is actually not as far off as you think it is.
Oh wow, I'm doing great today.
It's an episode where Picard is marooned one-on-one with this guy.
Oh, it's a bottle ep?
It was not a bottle ep, but it is an away team one-on-one situation, and they can't speak to each other. The universal translator doesn't work with this species, and so they have sort of it's sort of a play on Enemy Mine, the movie, where they have to Picard has to figure out how to communicate with this person who doesn't speak a language the translator works, because their species only speaks in metaphors.
Oh.
And without having a reference point for what they're referencing, you have to sort of figure it out through context clues. It's a very interesting episode. And of course, this is played by Paul Winfield, who you're like, oh, I know who that is, because he plays Captain Tyrell in Wrath of Khan, a Star Trek veteran already. So it's one of those episodes that really sticks with you. It feels sometimes a little silly, but then you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So there's a lot of catchphrases you'll hear from this. Shaka when the walls fell and such. But let's talk about the figure itself, Mike.
Yeah, you know where I'm zooming right now, because that like tattoo work on the back of his head is really cool.
Oh yeah, I mean it's very Bam Bam Bigelow.
It's very Bam Bam Bigelow. That's exactly the reference I'm looking for. He's got some like the ice cream of the future on the back of his spangles here. What do they call that? Dots or Dippin' Dots? He's got some Dippin' Dots rocking on his thing. He's very Crayola coloring. But yeah, I can't get past the head sculpt. It's got like a very piggy kind of vibe with a Bam Bam Bigelow.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you took like a pig and mated it with Bam Bam Bigelow, you've got Dathon.
Okay, well, fair enough. That's not an analogy I expected to, but it makes sense. Today?
Yeah.
Yes. The pig and Bigelow in the bedroom, and that's how you get to. That's how you get to.
Yeah, take that with you. Take that with you on your mental imaging today, internet.
Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome, internet. I love the paint and sculpt detailing on his costume here. That color green, like it doesn't read as badass as you want it to. But then again, the character's more complex than that. But he's got this weird like crocheted thing going on. But the figure represents it really accurately. It's a really cool, beautiful figure. So sculpt here is A+, I think, and the paint is there. It is. There's Bam Bam Bigelow for those of you who are not old 80s and 90s wrestling fans. See, See what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
Because Bam Bam had the head tattoo with flames, and it's the same sort of body type as the figure. Customizers out there who are a fan of both Star Trek and wrestling, here is your base for a great custom Bam Bam. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Just putting it out there.
Let's see. I'm trying to think. Since we're going off on this tangent, we got some. There are some good Bam Bam figures. Actually,
of course there are.
I had a good one, and you'll never forget Bam Bam. Let's not get out on the Bam Bam tangent, but that was fun.
He wrestled Lawrence Taylor. Yes, I know. All right, so here is the box, and this box I was happy to find because I'm going to take care of one of my friend's 4-year-olds, and I brought her some Star Trek figures before, and she doesn't know Star Trek for anything. And I'm like, what's just a cool figure for a 4 or 5-year-old just to like look at and play with? I'm like, Dathon is a perfect one to bring. So that might be headed your way. Spoiler alert. So, all right. So that is Dathon, the Temerian captain. Let us keep moving forward with I think a really fun character, but not nearly as fun as Brent Spiner finds him, I imagine. We are going to take a look at figure 6022, Lore. Here is Lore. Now, Mike, do you remember who Lore is?
He is an evil twin.
He is Data's evil twin. So cool, so fun. This is the weirdest costume that they could have put him in. This is from the episode Brothers. Lore wears some cool costumes throughout the series. I would much rather see his like Black Descent costume as opposed to this one, but okay, fine. It is represented.
Or at least give him a katana. Doesn't this sort of look like it's got a vibe? Well, the figure version of it has a vibe of like a feudal Japanese like samurai warrior.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the from the Sumerian snare. What the heck are they called? Samaritan snare. Oh God, I'm losing my Star Trek credentials as we go. Mike, talk about the figure for a second while I look this up.
I mean, it's cool. It's always cool to see Data in something different, even though it's not Data, of course. It's Lore. I can't think of anything else but that action sequence where they're fighting each other, and then there's the flip and the flippity doo-dah. That was one of my favorite things. When did we watch that on the show? We watched that for some reason.
We watched. When we did one of the Data series, what was it? It might have been for Oops. You pulled a clip from Data Lore.
Yeah, whatever.
I'm thinking of Packlets. He looks like he's wearing a Packlet outfit.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but was that for me?
Make it go. You are smart. Ridiculous.
I mean, I guess it's cool. I don't know that I love it, if I'm being frank. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
I love Lore. I mean, I love having Lore as a figure. It's just I wouldn't want him in the Packlet outfit. Yeah, I mean, it's a really well sculpted figure. I mean, again, like these are all hand sculpted, I believe. So at Varner Studios, somebody had to like make every one of those little indentations in the vest. So that all is very impressive. It's got good articulation. And this one has the silver choking hazards. You know I love those. But yeah, this is not the Lore that I would want. You do
have it though. It's the Lore you got, and it's the Lore you have.
It's the Lore I got. It's not the Lore I want, but it's the Lore I got. But yeah, they should definitely make a Descent Lore, because that outfit was way cooler than this one. Although there's less detail to it. So I don't know this from anything, but I have to think that Brent Spiner loved playing Lore, because to play the evil version of Data, to play someone with emotions after, he does this magnificent performance as Data that's heartbreaking and open-hearted and beautiful. But like Brent Spiner, like he's a little spikier in his humor and his sort of attitude. He's more like us, and probably loved playing the bad guy. All right, and we saw Lore, for those keeping track at home, in 4 episodes of The Next Generation. So let us now go to our final figure in this series. I'm not going to tell Mike what his deal is. He's going to have to figure it out for himself with figure number 6436, the Traveler.
Oh. Okay. Oh. You had a stumble in your video. So, this is cool, Keith, because it's giving me vibes of like a Quantum Leap type of situation where it's this guy who's like blinking in and out of different quadrants or time zones, or maybe he's a time traveler. And he kind of blinked into existence in our universe here in the Next Gen, and we had to figure out what his dealio was. Turns out we thought maybe he was a bad guy, but no, he's just a good guy beaming around. He's basically the Scat Bakula of the Next Generation. Words.
Wait. Wait. Stop right there. You just said he's the Scat Bakula of
Scott
the Generations.
Generations. Scott Bakula of the Generation.
Scat Bakula of the Generations. We do not want that figure. We don't want that figure.
Look at his hands, too. Gross. Those hands are grotesque.
Well, he just has 3 fingers. There's nothing wrong with him. No, so you're kind of right. He is a traveler through space and time.
You don't say. He's called the Traveler.
Well, through space and time, you're right, and different, universes and so forth. We see him on 3 episodes of The Next Generation, and he's played by Eric Menyuk, who plays the Traveler. And there's a whole story that goes along with this as it relates to Wesley. But I'm not going to give it away until Mike watches all of The Next Generation. Because we're not going to pip and pop through all of our...
You got to pip and pop, baby. There's too much TV.
We're not going to pip and pop. No. I almost watched All Good Things before he saw the rest of the series. Boo. Anyway, the figure I think is cool. He has more detail in the figure than he does on the screen. They added a whole bunch of texture to his outfit, as well as making it much bluer in the figure than it shows up on screen. Screen, it's much more of a grayish blue. And clearly, you can see here, it's more bluish blue. So I don't know if maybe the costume itself was blue, but the TV lights, there's a lot of different questions about what color are the science division uniforms on Next Gen, because sometimes it feels blue, sometimes it feels green. Had to do a lot with the TV lights. So I'm wondering if the actual costume was much bluer than it shows up.
Okay, I see that.
But other than that, but otherwise, it's weird to have it be that color. I get it if you're seeing it on the shelf, you don't want just like a flat gray figure. If you're gonna go by, is that the Wolverine?
No, it's Quantum Leap.
Oh, Quantum Leap. Okay, yeah, no, it's got that. So, does he have any clothes on, Mike? What are you putting on our show?
Yeah, I don't think he does, Keith. I got to get those ratings up somehow. I got to get our subs up. And this guy, no disrespect to Eric Menyuk, but his crotchoid area isn't giving me Scott Bakula vibes.
Bakula? Scat Bakula? What is his name?
Scott Bakula.
There you go. Of course, Star Trek. He's on Star Trek too, yeah?
Yeah? Oh yeah, no. Yeah, he was. It was just, but it was called what was it called? That episode, that series.
I'm not helping you. It's been a long road, waiting for Mike to know It's been a long road in this endless episode. But we're finally gonna get the subs up with apparently full male nudity. And we're not gonna cancel the show, even though it's not on your TV. Cause
Enterprise.
There it is.
Oh, geez. What were you singing? Was that random?
The theme song to Enterprise.
Oh, okay. I knew you were trying to help me, but it wasn't helpful. I'll tell you this, though, for friends of the Out of Practice podcast who never got the Quantum Leap podcast that I had promised, they are rebooting the series.
I know.
Quantum Leap is being rebooted, and we will absolutely be visiting that show, Keith, on one of our other shows.
Okay. All right. Maybe as bonus episodes on... Where do people get our bonus episodes, Mike?
Keith, I'm so glad you asked.
Yes.
Patreon.com/K&M. Spell out the "and" for some extra fun.
Yes, indeed. Well, I hope this episode of Next Generation Guest Stars has been extra fun for you. It has been extra fun for us. Check out the patreon.com/K&M. Other than that, we will be back here next week with, spoiler alert, Next Generation Guest Stars Part 3. Once again, thank you to our patrons, Brian Kaufman, Casey Clark, you just took it off the screen, Casey Clark, Claude Lover 69, Jorge Navoa, The Mysterious Anne, Alan Zimmerman, CRM Productions, and Charles Babbage. Folks, thank you for watching. Till then, this has been Look at My Star Trek Toys! Thank you for watching KME Entertainment. If you enjoyed our particular brand of nonsense, please like and subscribe.